What is up, Fit Fam? It is Coach Rye from Team Flex, and I am excited to be back here doing RANT Radio with you. I mean, it's been a long go. I just checked, actually, and the last episode of this podcast I recorded was March 10th, 2022. All right, that's crazy town. And looking at that before that, I only did a few in the late part of 2021. So the show basically, kind of tapered off for me in a lot of ways with everything I want to be talking about here. I kind of felt like I had said a lot of things at that time, didn't really have a lot of new stuff to give you. I don't want to just put out content for the sake of putting out content. I want to be able to actually make content that is going to help you and support you in your goals in every way possible. So here's what I want to talk about real quick, and then we'll get to my topic of today. The new direction of RANT Radio is going to be heavily involved, with me being less of the motivation-y bullshit that I was doing back in the day, and much more of the real deal motherfucking shit that you need to hear to do better in your life. All right. I feel like, back then, I was doing a lot of that. I still had that real effect, that whole, let's bring this to the table here. Let's talk about some real facts, but also in a very, motivation-y type way, which was good for the time. But I feel like this time in the world that we are in now, like, it's too much, what's a good word for it? It's too much, just overall softness. I guess we'll put it that way. Softness, okay? I think people need to actually hear some real deal shit sometimes and be told, hey, maybe you should be doing better. And I think if people were told that more often, you actually would be doing better. So I'm going to take the direction of the show a bit differently, but I bet you're going to like it a lot more. If you liked it back then, you're going to get all your favorite pieces of it. And we're going to go to a whole new level with this show where, I'm going to go deeper into topics, not such short little episodes. We're going to talk about a lot of things and really just give you my thoughts on how to advance in everything possible. And we'll talk about a whole wide array of topics. We'll still keep this in fitness, but we'll also talk about things in life in general too. And I mean, the title of the show is RANT Radio, so expect it. Expect me to just fucking bring you something, and we're going to go at it, and I'm going to talk about it, and I'd love to hear you guys' feedback. And I know it's been a literally 2-year hiatus at this point, and I appreciate you tuning in now and getting back connected with me, and let's kick some ass. So what I want to talk about today, this is a question that comes up a lot, and it's actually, February right now. We just kind of got through the new year, and this is a question that I get all the time, with people that are starting a new goal. And this can be people that have been doing fitness for a long time. You could already been involved in it. You don't even, it's not a new thing for you, in other words, to be doing your training and your nutrition and all that. But maybe you take on a new goal, like competing, or a lot of people these days are doing other performance type sports, running, things like that, where you have to actually train for a new type of goal. And when you do that, it's going to change, your focus of how your whole kind of life operates. And same thing goes if you've never been a part of the fitness game, right? Now you're getting excited and you want to get into it. And I think this is why it comes up a lot, this time of year. It's January just ended. We're into Feb now. People go and they got these new goals. They want to lose weight. They want to do this. They want to go step on stage. They want to compete. They want to, run a marathon. Whatever your goal is, you get into this zone where you got to make some changes to your life. Right? Like, that's inherently what you always have to do. Anytime you take on a new goal, it's not as simple as saying, well, here's where I'm at, and I'm going to go do that. No, you really can't do that. When you get a new goal, it means you got a new plan, you got a new course of action, you got a new whole approach you have to take to actually be able to make that goal happen. The person that needs to lose 100 pounds or 50 pounds or whatever amount of weight that you want to lose, you're not going to be able to just say, I want to lose it, and then go about your day and it's going to happen. I mean, if you think that's the case, which unfortunately a lot of people do, I think, and this is why you never get there, but you will never get there. If you just think, all right, keep doing the same shit you've been doing and you're going to, you're going to end up getting a different result, it doesn't happen that way. At the end of the day, the only way you get results is by changing things. And a lot of that comes further than just saying, all right, well, I'll go to the gym and, I'll eat this, I'll do that, and I'll follow this diet and I'll get there. No, you probably won't get there. You might get something to start, because doing something something's better than nothing. But I guarantee you, in the end run, you're not going to really be where you want to be at the end, because your goal kind of advances with you too, right? You advance in the way you think about the goal. Once you lose that first 10 pounds, you're like, all right, well, now what? I have a different perspective on things. I'm changing my mind about some things that I thought back then because I'm just not thinking that same way anymore. And this happens to everybody, no matter what goal it is you embark on, right? And so here's the interesting thing. You'll start to see this bleed over into every area of your life. All of a sudden, how you train and, how you eat and your goals that you focus on, you start looking at other things like, how you spend your time outside the gym, how you spend your time, sleeping. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you drinking enough water? Your other health habits, in other words, right? You start looking at all these little variables and you start to see things differently. And one of those things, and the question that I got recently that I was like, you know what? I've got this question so many times in my career and I've never really done a full form content on it. So that's what we're going to do today right here. And here's the question. How do you suggest someone stays focused when people around them do not fully understand? In this case, this was somebody competing, so bodybuilding, but I'm going to open that up and say, any goal. So how do you stay focused when people around you do not understand whatever your goal is, right? And this is one of those things that, we always talk about the biggest derailments of people being, they did some kind of different diet, they followed some different thing, they didn't set a realistic expectation, they didn't do, all those things are variables that can happen. A lot of people do fall off their goal for those things. I will tell you though, I do honestly believe at this point in my career, majority of people that actually fall off their programs, their plans, their goals in general, and don't attain them, it's because they have a bad, group around them. Like, in other words, it's maybe not a bad group, but it's a bad group for your goal, right? And I want you to think about this as I say it. Do you have people around you that are bad for your goal, right? Like, you know what I'm saying with this? Because you got to think about if you're looking at a new type of thing you want to attain, a new type of goal, new type of lifestyle change, whatever it is you set, you really got to think about who's around you and who's talking to you, who you're talking to, what kind of ideas are getting planted in your head, what kind of ideas do you have that are getting shut down by other people, because realistically, your kind of circle, as we call it, the people around you, the people you talk to the most, they really do influence your life, and I guarantee you play a far bigger role in if you actually attain your goal or not. Like, you got to really think about this, and here's some examples, right? Let's just use the person that wants to lose body fat, because this happens a lot. Weight loss, it's a majority of what people want to focus on now, especially with the world being, at the highest level of obesity and everything else that we've ever seen. What happens is people want to lose weight, but all your friends, all your family members, a lot of times, a lot of people that you associate with have kind of been there supporting you in, being at that weight that you're at now, in other words, being fat, where you got to go lose that because that's what you want to do now. If you want to lose 50 pounds, well, you're in a zone where you want to lose that weight, right? And that means the people around you have kind of been enabling that, or some part of it, in other words, right? A lot of times it's not uncommon when you see somebody who's got that kind of overweight, they're at that obesity level or whatever, they want to lose 50, 100 pounds, something like that. You're not going to find that they're just an average, Joe that's sitting in a box somewhere on their own. Like, it's not really what happens. They usually got a whole facility around them, basically, of people enabling them, participating. A lot of times, the whole family could be overweight. The whole friend group could be overweight. All these things really come together to say, well, that's constantly going to be somebody. If you're trying to lose weight and you're in that environment, right? And you're listening to everybody around you, but they're not trying to do that goal. Well, what's going to happen to you, right? You're going to constantly be getting negative feedback. You're going to constantly be getting tempted. You're going to constantly be getting pulled one way or the other way. You're going to constantly be getting taken off that goal, right? Or at least out of the mindset of that goal being something you can actually attain or achieve, which is a super hindrance to actually doing it, right? Like, if you are the person that wants to lose 50 pounds because you let your habits get away from you, maybe you quit working out, you started eating bad, whatever it was, you got to where you didn't want to be, and now you decide to make that change, and you still got all the people around you that are saying, hey, you know what, it's Friday, let's go out for pizza tonight, whatever, don't track the macros, it doesn't matter, it's a cheat day, you deserve it, you earned it, you worked today. all that stuff is just going to hold you back, ladies and gentlemen, right? Like you'll get into the spot where you'll never lose that weight because you're getting constant, influence, and you start telling people, hey, yeah, no, I'm going to change my diet a little bit. I'm not going to eat the pizza. I want to try to eat a little bit healthier. I'm going to have some scrambled eggs in the morning. I'm going to have this and that for dinner. It's not going to be a donut for breakfast anymore. And all of a sudden, everybody looks at you like you're crazy, right? They start to look at you like, whoa, what are you talking about? Because like food is this weird thing, ladies and gentlemen, where we kind of get in the zone of it's almost like it's some form of a relation to other humans when you're eating the same food. If everybody in the break room is eating donuts for breakfast and you're the one not, now you're the weird one, right? It looks weird. You know what I mean? Because we've all been in these spots where people don't understand what you're doing and they don't support it in that sense, because for some reason it's not even like it's just a food choice, which is all it really is, right? It's somehow some kind of relatable thing where now, if you're not eating the donut in the break room in the morning, you're not on the team kind of thing, right? Like, we always eat these together. What happened? What's going on with you? Oh, do you really need to do that? All of that will take you off your goal because it makes you inherently in your brain think you're doing something wrong, right? And so I like to use, fat loss, weight loss as an example, because I think that people that get very far down that path of they want to lose a lot of weight, they're very overweight or obese and they want to lose weight. Well, what happens is now that's a very extreme type of goal in a lot of ways, right? You see the most extreme when this becomes a health issue for people. When people get told, okay, you're so overweight, you're so obese, you're so fat at this point, right? Because literally, we don't need to butter this up. That's what it is. That's what happens. You're going to have health issues. You are having health issues. Your life expectancy is down. You've developed this disease now. You may die in whatever amount of time. That's when people flip the switch. They flip that switch quick and they all of a sudden go back into, all right, well, I got to get my stuff together. I got to start focusing on going to work out. I got to start focusing on my nutrition. I got to change this and that. But I'm telling you, if you got people around you and you got an environment that's kind of influencing you the wrong way, it is so much easier for people to just default back into that it will constantly derail you from your goals. And like I said, I like to use weight loss as an example, but I also want to use bodybuilders. Okay. If you guys know, you've been following me, maybe you haven't. It's been 2 years, right? But, I own Team Flex and we coach a lot of lifestyle people that got, everyday gym goals, fat loss, weight loss, muscle building, all kinds of stuff like that. And then we coach a lot of competitors and performance athletes and stuff like that. So people that want to compete in bodybuilding or some other sport, and we want to take them to the top of that, right? So these, in my opinion, are two really good examples to use for this kind of conversation today. And hence why I got that question from somebody who's going to compete for the first time. They're going out there and they're wondering, hey, what do I do? How do I deal with this? How do I stay focused? How do I not get off track with the same group of people that I've always been, hanging out with and now don't really understand this goal? And here's the other thing, right? So if you're hanging out with people, you're a bodybuilder, you want to be a bodybuilder, you want to be a competitor, or you want to be an athlete and do really well in any sport, there's going to be basically nobody that understands what you're doing. That's first off and foremost, right? Especially in your average day circles, your friends, your family, they're not going to get it. So, that's going to really hold you back in a lot of ways, because again, you're going to get the same kind of conversations, the same looks, the same questions as the guy that wants to lose 100 pounds and all of his friends don't understand. They don't get why it's happening. You're going to be the girl out there, who's trying to compete in a bikini competition or something like that. And all of a sudden you say, hey, you know what? I can't go out for drinks on Saturday night. I can't do this tomorrow. I can't go to dinner like we always do every Wednesday. You start doing that and people start saying, what's wrong with you? What's going on? No, is that really true? That's so unsustainable. That's not maintainable. That's unhealthy. It's a eating disorder. You start to hear all kinds of things, right? And your circle will pull you down to that kind of lowest common denominator, right? Like if nobody's on your goal, that is the denominator, right? That friend zone, that group, your family, whoever it is, whatever you're in, your coworkers, I don't know who's telling you this, but it's probably everybody to a degree. When you're in that circle before the goal, you are in that, average denominator that everybody's there. Everybody's got the same opinions about things. Everybody's cool with everything. Everybody's eating the same thing, so on and so forth, right? But when you go in a new goal and you make a lifestyle change and you decide you got to shift things up, well, now you become the odd person out, right? You become kind of that black sheep where they're like, what's going on here? What's the difference here? Why are you doing that? It's not right. And that, even if you don't think that affects you, I'm promising you, it does affect you. Okay. It starts getting your head, starts to mess with it. Every time you got to hear it, it changes the way you think a little bit. It changes changes the way you can train a little bit. It changes how focused you can be on your goal. It changes every single thing about it, and it will hinder your results, right? So, yeah, what's the solution, coach, right? Like, you're rambling now for almost 15 minutes, but you haven't told us the solution. Here's what I want you to think about. So the solution is actually very easily cut everybody out your life, right? Like, get rid of everybody, just be a hermit, go get a cave somewhere, go walk into the woods, find a cave, and just commit to training and losing body fat and being a competitor, right? That's the solution. No, come on, guys. It can't be the solution, because people that don't understand your goal will always be there. And they always will be there on probably a grand scale, especially if you do a very specific goal that requires a lot of effort, right? Like, basically nobody can relate to the person that has to lose 100 pounds unless they've lost 100 pounds. And basically nobody can relate to a competitor unless they're trying to compete or they are a competitor. And same goes with athletes in different sports, right? Like, you can watch football. It doesn't mean you understand a damn thing about how that athlete feels on the field, okay? So you really got to think about that. And that's always going to be in your life, no matter what. It can be your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your family members, your distant cousins you see every, couple Christmases. It can be your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife. It can be your coworkers. Anyone in your environment, okay, is going to have opinions, going to have ideas, going to have influences, and they're not really going to understand what you're doing. So my first suggestion, right, if you really want to know where to start with this and how to get your most focus, first, one thing, don't make that big of a damn deal about it, okay? That's the first thing, and that's hard to hear for some people, right? Because, like, if you decide you want to be a competitor, or you want to do this diet, or you want to go about this, you want to lose this weight, you start to think that, you got to, for some reason, like, announce this stuff, okay? And I'm an advocate of telling people stuff certain times, too, to help you be accountable, but most of the time, you don't really need to make a huge deal about whatever your goal you got, right? Like, here's an example. If you're going out and you're going to compete, you don't really need to go tell everybody in the damn world that you're going to do that. If you're going to lose 50 pounds, you don't really got to go tell everybody in the damn world that you're going to do that. Realistically, the goal that you have and you're going to achieve, like, it's set for you. You set it because of XYZ things that you wanted to be different, not because you need to appease somebody else or show them or tell them or do anything for them, right? And I think that people constantly lose focus on what a goal actually is. Like, social media can really make you think that, everything should be shared. Everything should be posted. Oh, here, I ate a piece of broccoli today. Here, look at this. Oh, I did my workout. Yay, me. No, you know what? At the end of the day, those are all just like luxury assets to your goal that, yeah, sure, if you like to do that, that's good for you. Maybe you like to document your process. Maybe you like to show people what you're doing. That's all fine and dandy, but don't lose sight of the actual thing, which is you and your goal and what you're trying to achieve, what you want to attain. All right. And that's it. If you get in that mind frame where, okay, now you don't make such a big deal out of it. You say, you know what, this is my goal. I'm going to do XYZ thing and I'm doing it for me. Well, now what happens is every time you sit in the same circles, you don't need to make such a big deal about it, right? I think a lot of people build this up in their head mentally, and that's why it becomes such a weird, awkward thing for people, right? Like, they get in this zone where, oh no, now they're taking too much value into all the thing that everybody's saying around them, or they feel awkward about the fact that they can't eat or drink this and do that. And so they start to feel, upset, and it becomes this big thing where all of a sudden now you're the one at the table being like, actually, I don't eat this today. I don't drink that today because I'm doing a competition, because I'm going to lose weight, because whatever. You're making it way awkward for yourself. You're making it bigger than it needs to be. I'm telling you, straight up. Okay, that's your first step. Don't make it such a big deal, because when you go sit at the table with whoever, or you're in your friend zone, you're getting coffee. Everybody wants to go out for drinks, whatever the hell it is. Go drink a damn water and don't say nothing to nobody. If your friends want to go out for drinks and see what happens, right? Like, oh, what's gonna happen? Oh, it's not that big a deal. You make it a bigger deal. Most of the time, here's what I understand about people, right? We make things way bigger deals, and they become big deals because we made them a big deal. That's it. That's all it is, right? So, like, if you go out with let's use that same example. If you want to go out with your friends and they want to drink and you can't because you're on prep or you're trying to lose weight, you're doing whatever, and you're going to drink water, what's wrong with that? People might be like, oh, you're not having drinks with us tonight. You say, no, I'm not. End of fucking story. What's the problem with that? Why is that such an issue? What's going to happen? If these people turn at you and they're going to berate you and they're going to go at you and they're going to be like, no, this and that, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Maybe you don't want to hang around these people no more. Maybe you got to change your friend circle up. But the first step is to really analyze the fact that you don't need to make a big deal about it. You don't need to take that moment, in other words, and be like, yes, actually, I'm not going to have any drinks tonight with you, my friends, because I am actually going to be competing in my first competition in 6 weeks, and I need to do XYZ with my diet. I have to eat 3 pieces of asparagus a day, and I have to... You don't got to do that, right? When you go into all that stuff, you make it such a big deal. It becomes this weird kind of subject that it's like almost this beast that becomes something you carry on your back. Like, oh, every situation I'm in, every social setting, oh, every single, I got to be this person, I got to be that person. Here's the fucking fun fact, right? Go to the grocery store, go anywhere you go in your day, go to the grocery store. I like that example. Let's do that. Go to the grocery store. Anytime. Go today, go whenever, next time you go. Walk through that store and you tell me the diets of every single person in that store. You couldn't do it. You literally couldn't do it. Even based on what people are buying, you couldn't tell me what diet they're on without actually talking to them and doing all this and that, right? So somebody may be eating less, somebody may be eating more, someone might be a vegan, someone might be, keto, somebody might be whatever. And you don't know anything, right? So it's not a big talking point. You're not going to walk up to somebody as you grab your apple from the bunch of apples and there's somebody else standing there and you guys start having a conversation about diets and everything else unless somebody says, oh, you must be on this diet because of the apple. And then all of a sudden you're there, right? So the first step, I think, is really eliminate the big deal of it. You got your goals. They're for you. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with making a decision without feeling like you got to tell the whole world about it. You don't need to, Don't go on Instagram and shout out what the hell you're doing all the time. Don't tell people the approach you're taking. Don't do that. Kind of safeguard your goals in a way where all right, if I don't bring things up as much about this and that, and I'm really doing this for myself anyway, well, I'm not going to get as much kind of negative feedback. I'm not going to get a lot of other outside influences. I'm not going to get people telling me, things that could take me off my track. So I think that's a really important step and the biggest one, the hardest one to do, and the one that people don't want to hear the most, right? Like, it's hard to think that, the reason that these things happen and how you keep your focus and how you kind of keep getting off with your focus is because of yourself. But the truth is, it's actually not always just what's going on around you. It's actually how you perceive that environment and what you take in from that. So first step is really to say, all right, well, I'm not going to make such a big deal about this. It might be a huge deal to me, might be a huge deal to you, right? Your goal that you want to achieve, but it doesn't need to be for every damn other person. All right. And what I've learned about people, coaching thousands and thousands of people over the years, is that the people that actually take that seriously and they say, all right, yeah, that makes sense, Coach Rye, I get what you're saying. I mean, it's my goal. I want to do these things for myself. I don't need to be out there doing all this for validation, blah, 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 blah. You don't need to be. And when you don't, that's when you actually get results. If you do the other things, you're going to constantly be off the track, right? It's just going to happen. People will pull you off track. All of a sudden, you'll be on prep and your friends will pull you out to drink and they'll say, oh, yeah, well, what do you mean you're drinking water? You need to drink. And you'll cave and you'll just fucking get wasted and eat French fries at McDonald's at 2 a.m. and you're off track now, right? So it's the problem. These things come up because of how we value it in our heads and the facts that we really don't want to be accountable to ourselves for our goals in situations where we think that we have to be peer pressured into other things. But realistically, I promise you, if you don't make that big of a deal of it and you just tell people straight up what's going on and you don't need to go into every single detail in the world, you're never going to run into these situations as much, okay? But there is still chances you will, and chances your environment of people will constantly pressure you, right? And that will only last so long. So number 2, the other thing I think you really need to focus on if you really want to figure out how to stay focused on your goal no matter what's going on around you, if people don't understand it, is you can take the effect of trying to help these people understand actually what you're doing, right? So this is a little bit more for like your close circle, your friends that are always with you, maybe, people that are your coworkers that you see every single day, your family, definitely anyone living in your house, your spouses, your partners, your relationships, whatever. You want to like be able to, if those people don't understand, these people are probably not leaving your life at any point in time. They're maybe not the people you can give the simple, here's what it is, leave me alone kind of thing. It's not going to work, right? Step 1 won't really work all the way for those people, but it will work in a better way, because what you can actually do with people like that is say, okay, I want to actually go in depth with these people about why I'm doing what I'm doing and what it means to me. So it's not posting on Instagram. It's not saying, hey, I ate my asparagus today. It's not doing that. It's really like, hey, you know what? I want to sit down with you and I want to talk about my goal and what's going on with me. And, then what happens is a lot of times when you do this, you actually go in depth with somebody, they fully understand. They don't necessarily need to understand what you're doing and all that in the sense of like, okay, well, that makes perfect sense to me. They need to understand what it means to you to actually be attaining that goal, right? So for somebody that wants to compete, for example, and you're in a relationship with somebody that doesn't even work out and they got no concept of why you would want to do that, that's just fine. That's your goal. Remember, it's your goal. It doesn't matter if they totally understand that. But what you do want to get on that kind of page with that person is like what that goal means to you. All right. And so if you can relate that to somebody, which you always can with the friends, the family, the relationships, things like that, the close friends, I should say, you'll notice that people will understand that and they'll respect that and they'll move on. Like people respect everybody that has a serious goal and a way to get there, right? People don't like wishy-washy people that are back and forth all over the place, say they're going to do this, don't do it, right? People really respect people that take things seriously and they're going to go about it, right? So if you got a goal and you say, you know what, yeah, these people in my environment, they don't understand, I'm kind of getting, this negative feedback, and a lot of times it could be, your relatives, it could be your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, where you got to say, hey, you know what, let's go to coffee. I want to talk to you about my goal that I got going on. And I'm trying to lose 100 pounds and you guys constantly telling me that, I should just keep eating the same way, I'm fine the way I am, so on and so forth. It's kind of really taking me off my goal. And here's why this goal means a lot to me. If I don't lose 100 pounds, my doctor says blah, 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 that's really where you got to take it. And the same with going on a prep or being an athlete, it really means a lot to me to be able to perform my best, and I have to do this and that to get there, and I got to stay on this, and if I take it off that, it's not. And when you really can go in depth with somebody and have a real actual conversation, which is really hard to do, by the way, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but when you have a real conversation with somebody that, your loved ones, in other words, right? Like your close friends, your relationships, your family members, and you have a real conversation with these people, what happens is they understand, they'll get it, and they won't, again, they don't need to understand exactly what it is, how it makes sense to them. They don't need to know why the diet works, why the training works, why this and that happened, right? They just need to know that it means something to you on a deeper level that they should be supportive of. And when that happens, they will do it and they'll stop doing it, and again, then you kind of go back to step one where now you don't make it a big deal anymore. You've had that conversation with your mom, your dad, whoever it is. You've had that conversation, you've laid it all out, you've told them why it's important to you, and then you default back to step one, which is don't make a big deal about it. Just keep focused on your goal and, don't bring it up every single time. It's not like if somebody's like, hey, you want to go out to eat, your significant other says, hey, it's Friday, can we go have cheat meal, whatever, and you can't do it because you're on prep or you got a serious goal, you want to lose weight, you don't need a cheat meal, you don't want to have one because you're on track. Well, you just say, no, I'm not doing that today, I still got that thing, it's coming up in 10 weeks, I got to be ready, and that's it. Leave it there. Don't so again, there's so many ways to approach this stuff where it can be dramatically beneficial to you, because again, if you're getting taken off track, even if you don't feel like you are, having these people in your environment will detract from your goal and how far you can go with it. And I know all of you listening to this, especially at this point, this far into this, you're serious about your goal and you want to have that happen. You don't want to be the person, who's out there trying to wishy-washy, say, oh yeah, I'll lose weight, and then the next day you're off and you're on to the next thing. You know what I'm saying? So last thing I want to bring up, you guys, and I appreciate you listening so much, thank you for being here, is number 3. So this one's the most extreme, and this one is one that you really sometimes gotta do this, okay? If you've worked through my step 1 and step 2 to help these things work and it's not working for you, you're still feeling that kind of way, you're still getting that feedback, you're still in that kind of zone where you start falling off, maybe you are falling off, all kinds of things, and it's your environment that's doing it, which it is for most people, I'll tell you that. Sometimes what you got to do is make a complete overhaul of that environment. And what that means is you really got to say, all right, maybe it's time to lose some friends. Maybe it's time to lose some of these circles I run in before. Maybe it's time for me to, talk less to XYZ people. And this becomes, easier or harder depending on who is your biggest detractor, the biggest deterrent to what you got going on, right? But, with certain groups, sometimes you'll find, certain friends just don't support your goals, then they're not really a good friend, right? And, maybe they fit a great person. They were a great person at a great time in your life when you were a different person, you were doing different things, and that all made sense, and now you're going down this different path. And if somebody can't get on the page with you doing these first 2 steps I gave you, then maybe you really got to be at the point where you say, I got to cut this person, and you cut them out, right? And I'm not a huge advocate of like, oh, you're on prep or you got a goal, so cut people, but I am a huge advocate of cutting people from your life that don't support you in any way, right? Like I think that that's really important, and it should be done more often, because really we're talking about fitness right now on this podcast, but these people that are out there doing this to you, they're bringing down your whole life. They're bringing down your entire quality of life, how far you can go, what you can achieve in every capacity. It's not just about your fitness goal. It's about literally your goals in life. So you don't want to be in the spot where you got these type of people detractors taken from your goal, right? So sometimes it does, mean you got to just move on from that type of group, that person, those people, whatever. And if you think about your life, the funny thing is you've done this a million times already, right? Like we've all done this. The friends you had when you were in kindergarten are not the friends you have when you're in college, or not the friends you have when you become a 30-year-old person doing X, Y. Everything changes. And you know why it changes? Because your circle changes. And when your circle changes, everything else is going to follow that. And there's nothing wrong with changing your circle yourself. You don't have to wait for time. You don't have to graduate a class. You don't have to move a state or do something else to change your circle. Your circle can change by your discretion at any point in time. And a lot of people have a hard time. You're not going to go out there and just be like, oh yeah, sorry, I can't be your friend no more because you're not supporting my weight loss goal. It's just, you phase it out. You phase it out. It's easy to do this where you just say, you know what? Okay, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to stop, doing these things. I'm going to put my goals back in my control, back in my pocket. These people are always pulling me to do X, Y, Z. I'm just going to stop showing up. I'm not going to go to have drinks and just drink water. I'm not going to go to do this and have my, healthy food at the restaurant with you. I'm not going to do those things. And you stop doing these things, and you'll notice what's really, really, really crazy is these people will somehow X themselves out of your life. Like you don't even have to say nothing, do nothing. You just quit supporting whatever's feeding them, and all of a sudden they're not there no more, right? And so really, was that a good friend? Was that a good friend relationship you had there? Or was that actually somebody just feeding their own needs, using you to do it while also detracting from your goal, right? And that's kind of a huge mind fuck, but it's also what happens a lot. And you'll find as you change circles and you start to want to get better and you start to want to achieve different goals, that there are the people that are going to be afraid almost that they're not going to have you to take from anymore to feed their own needs. And so those people fall off because basically they'll go leech from somebody else. They'll go find somebody else. I mean, if you go on your own path, it's fine to be on your own path, and it's great to be on your own path. And it doesn't mean that you have to walk the same path that you walked with other people in the past. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? Obviously, if it's, family members or relationships, again, becomes a tougher thing. Family, you can't really ever get rid of, but you can definitely set boundaries with what you will tolerate and what you don't tolerate, and how many times you'll do X, Y, Z, to really put yourself in that environment. But a lot of times with family, I'll be honest with you, if you have these conversations, like I said, step 2, have really deep conversations with people, they'll click in a lot of times, at least to a point where it's maintainable. And with family, I honestly suggest you do the same type of thing. You kind of got to cut them out in a way without actually cutting them out, right? Because it's really hard to do that with family. Some people do have to do this though, by the way. It's just the way it is, some you'll find this in other facets of life, not necessarily with just fitness, but if people are holding people back, it's in this family members, a lot of times people do end up doing that. They'll move out of the state, they'll do whatever, they got to get away, and you don't think about it in fitness, right? Because it's kind of silly in the sense of fitness, where it's like, oh well, you're really going to cut somebody out of your family because you want to lose 30 pounds? No, but again, it's not just about the fitness goal, it's about detracting from your overall life quality of everything. Like, these people that do this to you will be doing that to you on every level, so you really got to be aware of that and keep that in mind. But what I always found works great is, again, if you can not cut these people out and you can work with that and you just don't make a big deal of it, that's really good. And you can do that on a deeper level with actual family or relationships, things you don't want to lose, that you can't just, say, oh, maybe my friend group is not as good anymore. It's not, maybe I need some bodybuilder friends, for example, or somebody doing the same thing I'm doing. But you can basically kind of go to a deeper level of step 1 where you can cut people out of certain topics of your life, right? Does this make sense? Like, where you're sitting there and you go, okay, I'm going to say nothing about bodybuilding when I hang out with this person, when I'm around this person. I'm going to say nothing about my weight loss goal. I'm not going to talk about the gym. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to only talk about, kind of, I mean, you're basically tiptoeing, but it does work for family and, things like that where, you're not always with them 24/7. You're going to see them for some, I'm not saying mess Christmas up over your fitness goals, people. I'm saying just, keep in mind what's going on and set some boundaries for yourself. Always prioritize you and your goals the most, because that's going to be the most important thing with, making sure that you're having your best life and you can be, not to mention you can be the best thing for everybody else, right? So if you're going to, for example, if you're the person that needs to lose 100 pounds because of health issues, and you are, being constantly told by your family who's also overweight that it's fine, don't worry about it, don't do it, don't do this and that, well, it's not going to be very good. You're not going to be there to support them or, be a part of their life or anything else when you're dead, right? Like, realistically, that's what you got to think about, right? So every single goal or decision we make has a consequence, and no matter what it is, you got to go through that. So I think it's better to err on the side of being a better person for you, your goals and everything else, because you are better for yourself, which means you can be better for everybody else too. And I think that's ultimately so important. And, when it comes to relationships and things like that, family members, friends, you sometimes got to cut people. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, evolving. You almost can think about it like there was just a time where that made sense, and that's great. And that time of your life is over, and now it doesn't. And you got to move to that next level because you're going to that next level. Otherwise, I guarantee you guys, right, there is no way to go through life where you got to sit around and you got to be stuck, being beaten down by everybody around you and constantly holding yourself back. And even if you don't mentally think, cognitively think that it's holding you back, I promise you it is. And if you want to really achieve your goals and go as far as you can with everything, then the goal is to really kick into that and unlock it and follow these 3 steps. And I promise you, it's gonna do big things for you on every level. You'll achieve more this year. And it's funny because it's February right now, beginning of February. If you apply what we're talking about today, like, this is gonna take it to a whole new level for you across the board, what you can actually achieve, what you'll attain. I bet you'll achieve more this year than you have in the last 5 if you follow that advice, right? With just your circle, as crazy as that is. It's crazy to say that. I know it sounds gimmicky. I know it sounds, kind of cheesy. I know it sounds corny, but the truth is your environment and the people around you are largely responsible for if you will achieve your goals or not. And so if they're not supporting it, get those motherfuckers out of there in one way or another. That's what you got to do. All right. And there's no other way to put it. That's what you have to do. And it's got to be done. It's got to be done. And if you're thinking about people this whole episode, right, you're sitting here thinking, you're like, oh man, oh yeah, oh damn, oh yeah, this person, that person. Okay. Those are the people that you got to go follow one of these 3 steps with right after this episode ends. Like, get off here. Go think about that. Make a game plan. Is it somebody you got to sit down to and, have a deep conversation with? Is it maybe a way you need to change your approach with how you talk about your goal? Maybe kind of, don't make it a big deal as much to see what happens. And is it some situation where you already know this just is not going to work and you tried the other things before and now you're in a spot where maybe it's time to level the fuck up and get some people out of your life, make some cuts and move on and prosper? I mean, I'm telling you, don't sleep on this, everybody. If you're serious about your goals, you're serious about getting there and you want to do it and you want to be the best you can be, then you gotta absolutely consider your environment and make sure that it's supporting you, not detracting from you in every single way. And do routine cleaning of this, by the way. Routine. Every couple months of your life, at least got to assess this. And you'll learn after you do this a few times how important, actually doing this is. You'll find that your time, your energy, your effort, everything, how you feel, everything gets so much better. So make sure you got that environment, you guys. And that's it for this episode back. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Quite a bit longer than what we've done before, and I'm going to be doing a lot of things, a lot more here. I don't know the frequency for this podcast right now, but I promise it's going to be much better than 2-3 years an episode, right? And I'm planning to keep the consistency. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts, some comments, whatever. If you like the show, you listened, give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you think, and it's going to be good, kind of feedback for me to take the direction of the show, where we want to go from here and what we want to do. do. But RANT Radio is going to totally kind of reformat you and your life and everything you want to do and help you get better and be the honest motherfucker. Coach Rye right here to tell you the truth when nobody else will. Shit that might hurt you, but it will definitely make you better. That's going to be my gameplay. Maybe that'll be my slogan. The shit that will definitely hurt you, but it will make you better. And I think that's what we all need these days, you guys. So it only hurts the bitch part of you, by the way. It only hurts that little bitch part of you that you got to get rid of, by the way. And you will. Stick with me, folks, all right? Thanks for listening. Subscribe, and Coach Rye is out.